Hey, folks, glad you could be here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful day, and it's always interesting when I come in before I start my show. I was talking to Ahmad and Johnny, my coworkers here, and they always say, "So, what's the topic tonight, Doc?" And I said, "We're going to talk about is technology killing you?" And together, they both said yes. So, there's a lot of things that technology is doing that's great for us, but there's also a lot of things that technology has done for us that's really adversely affecting our health. And I want to go over these things with you because I want you to start today, immediately, as this show proceeds, to stop doing certain things that are adversely affecting your health. We'll talk about computers, we'll talk about cell phones, we'll talk about structural issues that occur to your body when using technology, because that's a big issue. Again, if you've never joined us before, I'm board certified in chiropractic, I'm board certified in orthopedics, board certified in pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author. And this show is heard all over the world. So after 32 years of practice, these credentials qualify me to give you this information because I want to put together a healthcare plan for you that really, really works. Anybody ever have experience in healthcare where you go, you do something, you either take a pill or have a surgery or get treatment, and you go, nah, didn't do anything. So I've been there. I'm a patient too. And so when that happens to me, I get very frustrated. I think, why didn't this work? And some of the things that you may be doing every single day may be preventing you from getting the optimum result. So we're going to talk about cell phones to start because I think everybody has one and everybody's using one. I bet you a lot of you are listening to me right now on your cell phone. Now, when it comes to cell phone research, I talked about this many years ago, and I said there's a lot of issues out there. A lot of early research is showing that there's going to be problems in the future with cell phones. And some people said, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, guess what? We're going to put this in the Dr. Joe is right column. We're starting to see people having problems or healthcare problems arising from cell phones. And I'll start out with a fun little study that was done by accident almost. It was done in Denmark. It was at the Halgelerp School. I don't know if I said that right, in Denmark. And 5 ninth grade girls found that they were feeling crummy and they couldn't concentrate if they slept with their cell phones in the bed with them. Now, in other studies, like Stanford University a few years ago, they found that 75% of the 200 students surveyed slept with their cell phones next to them in bed. So step number 1, I want you to stop that. I want you to get your cell phone as far away from you as possible. The reason is your cell phone gives off something called electromagnetic frequencies. Now, it's not radiation like you'd get from an X-ray. That's more intense radiation, or nuclear meltdown, of course. That's really intense. This is radiation that really starts to generate heat. But as a chiropractor, my concern is your body's electrical system. I want to make sure the messages in your body you're getting from your brain, down your spine, out to your body, along the nerves, as efficiently as possible. And anything that messes with that electrical field is not going to give you the optimum message sending. Because as a chiropractor, of course, I look for pinched nerves, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling. Chances are that's a pinched nerve. And physically, we put the bones back in place, take the pressure off the nerves, and you feel good. Now, pain is a warning sign. Pain is telling you something's wrong. And to ignore it is a very dangerous situation. Biggest complaint I get from patients is, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I get treatment sooner? And I don't want you to be one of those patients who says, why didn't I do it sooner? But we can also affect the nerves on an electrical level and on a chemical level as well. So sleeping with a cell phone, not a good idea. So anyway, back to this little study from Denmark. Observation gave the girls an idea for a science project. They decided to check just what cell phones did to the human brain that caused the disorganization, and soon they ran into some design problems. Logistics turned out it was very expensive, so instead they settled on seeing how Wi-Fi would affect them. Okay, because they realized something was wrong with the phones, but ninth graders? They didn't have all the technology to do anything more than what they did here. So what they did, and I did this once, by the way, folks, and I did it with a microwave oven, but I'll talk about that in a second. They filled 12 trays with seeds, which were edible herbs, kind of like watercress. Half the trays were in a room containing no electronic devices. The other half were put right next to 2 Wi-Fi routers in another room. The girls calculated that the routers emitted the same amount of electromagnetic frequency as a cell phone. So we got a cell phone next to it. They observed the plants for 12 days. At the end, the results were pretty cool. The plants with the non-electromagnetic field room had prospered. The ones situated next to the routers either didn't grow at all or worse, they died. Now, I did a study a while ago, and we took a tray of lettuce that I had bought just from a home store. And I cut the tray in half. It had those little, containers of lettuce growing in there. Cut it in half, and one of them, we boiled water on the stove, cooled it, and watered the plants with it. The other ones, we boiled water in the microwave, cooled it, and watered it. And within about 3 weeks, we saw dramatic changes in the plants that were watered with the microwave-watered water. Now, people say, well, water's water. Well, that's not necessarily true. It is H2O, but can have the molecules can be have electric charges in them. And so it was interesting to see that just boiling the water affected how the plants grew. And then somebody said, well, they looked up on the internet, and the internet said that that's not true. Well, I did it, and I saw it work. So the reason we're getting into this is we're going to talk more about electronics, is I don't want you doing things now, and then later on it turns out that I was right. And if I'm wrong, so what? But if I'm right, which I am, by the way, I want you to start taking some precautions right now. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break. If you have any healthcare questions, we're going to open up the line to any healthcare questions. 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DR-JOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. Glad you can spend a little time with me. We're talking today, or answering the question today, is technology killing us? And the answer is yes. Because even though we have so much technology that's helping us in our healthcare, we have x-rays and MRIs and CAT scans and real-time MRIs, and the research is just crazy that we can use computers to do research that we used to have to do by hand, and it's just wonderful. But what we're finding now is that there's a downside, the dark side of technology. And cell phones are a big issue. And I talked about this years ago, and now more and more research is coming out, and I've got a lot of studies I'll quote here in a second. And we're finding out that we've got to be careful. I'm not saying you shouldn't use a cell phone. What I'm saying is you got to be careful about using your cell phones. Another study done. Back 2010, a parallel study in Denmark also found that plants suffered while exposed to electromagnetic frequency radiation. After noticing a dramatic spike in the number of trees in Denmark suffering from radiation poisoning up to 70%, up from 10% just a few years earlier, researchers exposed 20 ash trees to high levels of Wi-Fi activity. After 3 months, the trees showed signs of radiation sickness. Early reports claimed that the trees bled, grew nodules, became deformed, and even died. Later reports said that the early intelligence was exaggerated, and the trees only showed substantial leaf damage. So that was all they had. They didn't really die. They just had substantial leaf damage. Well, that's enough to make me nervous because I've been in practice 32 years now, and I've seen things that they said were safe. If you remember drugs like Fen-Phen and Redux and painkillers they put on the market, perfectly safe. And then people were dying from them, and I said, yeah, maybe they weren't so safe after all. Exactly. So this technology that we're dealing with is causing problems. Now, as a chiropractor, I see a lot of issues because people walk around with their head down in their cell phones. And we're creating a thing called a cell phone neck. And now as a chiropractor, of course, that's business for me. But you're hurting yourself. Your head weighs about 10 pounds. When you come into our offices, if you become a patient, I go over, I do an exam with you, and if we take x-rays, I'll show you the x-rays. And we have a 10-pound weight in almost all our rooms. And I'll hand you the weight. And I'll say, this is how much your head weighs. And you hold it, and 100% of the people go, really? My head is that heavy? And your neck is only 7 bones. Your neck is about the size of your index finger, if you think about it. So you're supporting this 10-pound head on top of 7 tiny little bones. So with the neck, you're supposed to have an arch. It's supposed to arch with the concavity in the back and the convexity in the front. And with that arch, you're going to have flexibility and strength. If you lose the arch, and I would say 98% of my patients that come in have done something to lose the arch in their neck. And so now the weight of this 10-pound bowling ball size head of yours doesn't have this arch or this spring underneath it. So the weight of your head is pounding down on your spine, and inevitably, it has to cause your spine to wear out. You will, guaranteed 100%, swear to gosh, you're going to develop arthritis in your neck if you don't have a curve in your neck. because you need that arch. Now, when I first got in practice, I saw a lot more people have better arches. And as the years have gone by, I'm seeing fewer and fewer people ever come in with a normal arch. Still happens every now and then, but not often. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the technology that we're exposing ourselves to. And that can cause neck pain and headaches and shoulder pain and arm pain and hand pain and wrist pain and numbness. But the nerves in the neck also control your brain, eyes, ears, sinuses, thyroid gland, throat. And so if you're pinching these nerves by throwing your head forward, now we're cutting off the nerve supply or interrupting the nerve supply to these organs, and these organs are malfunctioning. So much of healthcare is physical, not chemical. And we keep trying to treat it chemically. I've got neck pain. I'm going to take an aspirin. I'm going to take a drug. I'm not against that. My question is, why do you have the neck pain? And a lot of it has to do with our lifestyle. Why do you have the shoulder pain, the numbness, the tingling, the muscle weakness? Because you're pinching nerves in the neck that go down into the hands and the arms. And so technology can cause some real serious issues because we're doing structural damage to our bodies. And a little later, we're going to talk about sitting at a computer, what you're doing, and certain rules I want you to start following when it comes to sitting at a computer. So it's worth remembering that we're seeing early signs of damage occurring from radiation. The fact is, we're exposed to at least 100 million times more radiation than our predecessors just a few generations ago. And the number of cell phones and cell phone towers are crazy. How many of you have one cell phone? How many have two? How many have three? I've seen people with 3 cell phones. You have your personal, your work, and then I don't know what the third one is for. I don't need to know, actually. But I'm all curious about that, is why you just don't have one phone. So the question really is, how is it that we as a society and as individuals respond to these issues? Because we still have a gap in knowledge. And we have enough history to know that if you're doing certain things that you think might be bad, and then later on science has proven that you were right, why didn't you stop sooner? Some people, it was too late. Sometimes the medications are out there that are approved, considered safe, and then removed from the market. Consumer products are removed from the market. There's recalls all the time because we think something's safe and it's not. We have the studies clearly showing that cell phone use can cause damage. And I want you to start thinking about what you're doing to yourself when it comes to that. We assume Wi-Fi is safe because we still don't have enough weight of evidence to prove, to satisfy some skeptics that say it's perfectly fine. 2011 report from the European Union Committee on the Environment, Agriculture, and Local and Regional Affairs, that's a fun committee, called all wireless technology, including cell phones, said they should be removed from schools. The statement was this: waiting for high levels of scientific and clinical proof before taking action to prevent well-known risks can lead to very high health and economic costs. Same was with asbestos, leaded petrol, which is gas, and tobacco. So structural issues can cause neurological issues, bones out of place, pinching nerves. Electronic issues, exposure to electromagnetic frequency, can lead to problems as well. I have patients, myself included, that if you carry your phone on one side, so for example, I'll oftentimes put it in my back pocket, and when I did that, I noticed my hip pain increased. When I stopped doing that, my hip pain decreased. It's an anecdotal story. Do I have proof that it was changing my hip pain? Maybe it was because I was sitting on I wasn't sitting on my cell phone. I always took it out when I sat. So now if I wear cargo pants, I put it in my front pocket, away from my pelvis and those important organs down there. Now, is my leg important? Yeah, it is. But I want to keep it away from my reproductive organs, my digestive system, my adrenal glands, my kidneys. Because if I'm right, great. And if I'm wrong, so what? So I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm trying to say just think smart about what you're doing. More than a dozen countries worldwide have restricted mobile cell phone use for children and dismantled Wi-Fi in school, returning to more wired connections. So if you choose to protect yourself from this Wi-Fi that's everywhere, the radiation, it increases in the environment every day, and I don't want you to wait for legislators to impose stricter regulations. There are things that you need to do right now. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, give me a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. If you have questions, you can send them to me through my website, drjoeesposito.com. If I can't get to you while I'm on the air, I'll get to you, as soon as I'm off the air, within a day or two. And that number, 844-44-Dr. Joe, rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Folks, got to go to break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Break. Hey, folks, glad you could be here. I am Dr. Joe Esposito, and we're talking today, or answering the question today, is technology killing us? And the answer is yes. And we kind of started talking about cell phones a little bit, and we've got two really good callers on the line. So let's go right to the callers. Tony, how can we make your day better?
Yes, Dr. Joe, how are you?
I'm very well.
I'm a two-time brain tumor survivor. The common denominator, heavy cell phone use.
Wow, really?
Yes, meningiomas.
Uh-huh.
And right frontal lobe, exactly where the antenna was. And I just got done doing 5 treatments of radiation because the thing keeps growing back, and stuff like that. So, but I won't go near a cell phone.
Wow.
So I will not go near, because I was an IT. I use it way too much. I've traveled a lot, so I was always on the cell phone, and that's what it was. And I talk to people about it. They look at me like I have 2 heads. I'm like, you're crazy. Most people most people aren't using landlines anymore. They're just going straight to cell phones because it's cheaper, and they think it's better.
Absolutely, yeah. So you actually feel that the cell phone was definitely the cause of your 2 tumors?
Absolutely. It's in the same place, the right frontal lobe. And,
yeah.
Both of them, and thankfully it was a benign meningioma.
Right.
But I am. It's going on 19 years now that I've been fighting these things off.
Wow.
Of course, I stopped using the cell phone, many years ago.
Sure.
Once I started putting all this stuff together, like you did, but. There's no way, there's something going on there that, of course, we're not being told about.
Right, yeah. And I think it'll come out in the future as time goes on, because more people like you, unfortunately, are suffering these issues, and it can't be hidden forever. It has to come out and say, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this. You're right. So,
yes, because the surgeries are the surgeries themselves are very dangerous also.
Right.
One almost killed me. The meningioma was very vascular. And they're very long surgeries, lots of blood loss and everything else like that. And so, just keep up the good work, Doc. God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. See, folks, and that's the thing, is that it does happen. And we have another caller here I want to get to right away, too. Dr. Isaac, you there? Doctor, you there?
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Isaac. Go ahead. This is Dr. Joe here. Yes.
Yes. I was very surprised to listening. I listen very often. And I think that what you talk, it's very important.
Well, thank you.
And but one of the things is I'm worried about the children. Parents is not, they're giving phone to the children so children can play with the phone, with cell phone. And I think that what you are describing or talking every day, it's very important, but how you can make a movement, we need to have such a movement even in the first world that what we are going through with the technology, and it's the bad side of it.
Yes.
I trust very much on you that when you talk about human life and also about how that our surrounding could be more healthier.
Yes.
People think the sickness comes only in the body because if we can eat or not eat. That is one of the parts. But surroundings, that what you are talking to the people that like that radiation of all these things is not so much people are describing these days,
Right.
We think we got everything and we are in the top of the mountain. Actually not. And I'm very grateful for what you are doing, that you are giving people some kind of knowledge about health.
Well, thank you, Dr. Isaac. I do appreciate it. Now, you were an editor, I see, right? You were an editor at one point?
Yes, I was the editor in one of the well-known papers in Asian countries,
Right.
It published in Bengali.
Okay.
And it was a science magazine, and during that time, we already knew very little, but never I heard like you talking more realistic way about the surrounding.
Right.
So
Well, Dr. Isaac,
I was very surprised, and I'm very much impressed that was the way you were describing these things to us.
well, great. Now, I
And
appreciate.
it's very important, you know. Although our Asian culture has a different way of understanding things, but I think that your language is a universal language
Yes.
for all people.
Well, thank you, Dr. Isaac.
For-
Yes, I appreciate your call, and and thanks for supporting what we're saying. And do me a favor, tell your friends, because we need more listeners like you. I do appreciate your time. Thanks so much. See, folks, that's kind of interesting. We have doctors, we have people that have suffered from tumors from cell phones, and so it's real. It's not just me saying, hey, I read an article about some girls in Denmark that slept with their phones and they felt weird afterwards, they couldn't concentrate. This is real life. And that's why I want you to listen to what we do on these shows, because we talk about things like Dr. Isaac was saying that nobody else is talking about. You're not going to get this information anywhere else. You're only going to get it here. And so that's why, number one, I want you to tell your friends to tune in. And I take my shows and I archive them on my website. We have hundreds of hours of shows archived on the website. And the reason I do that, and people tell me all the time, why don't you charge for that? You can be making a lot of money. People love your shows. The reason we still do it at no charge is because I want this information to get to you. In my offices, my team of doctors and I, our goal is to help you get well and stay well. We want to get your nervous system working properly. We want to get your digestive system working properly. And we want to get your nutrition straightened out. Because like Dr. Isaac was saying, our environment now has become more of an issue than ever. I mean, there was a time when you could get bit by a snake or fall off a bridge. But now we have technology that may be more dangerous than even the wild, wild west. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, give me a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number, by the way, rings through to my offices if you want to make an appointment, and you can do that when I'm not on the air, of course. So give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE. My website, lots of information there, drjoeesposito.com, or you just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Folks, 844-44-DR-JOE. Got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. Today we're talking about, or answering the question, is technology killing us? And the answer is yes. We talked about cell phones. We had several callers call in. One had 2 brain tumors right where the antenna from his phone was. Dr. Isaac called in. He was talking about how important it is that we do have awareness of our environment. And I just got a question on my Facebook page. Oh, by the way, like me on Facebook, and you can also send us questions while I'm on the air, too, or if I'm not on the air as well. And they said, okay, John wants to know, we've been exposed to all these toxic chemicals and this environmental issues. What can we do about it? And that's a real good question, because we're all getting zapped. Right now, I'm getting zapped. You're getting zapped. So what do we do about it? Well, a couple of things. Number one is you have to take control of the things you have control over. And one of the things you have control over is your diet. Because when you're exposed to toxic chemicals, radiation, your body, it produces something called free radicals. Now, free radicals are like Pac-Man. They attack things. And you can imagine like Pac-Man eating through things. That's what a good analogy is for free radicals. And you need to take something called antioxidants that counteract these free radicals. And years ago, somebody said to me, what would you consider the world's best supplement? And so I created something called Dr. Joe's Super Greens, and then another supplement called Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And they're loaded with antioxidants, and they alkalize the system. And its Essential Source is about 10 servings of raw fruits and vegetables in a powder form. And then we had prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes. And so you have to change your diet. And minimum amount of supplements you should take, I would consider Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're powders. I take a scoop of each. I mix it with either coconut milk, almond milk. I get whatever on sale. I don't do dairy products, so any type of plant-based milk. I have it sitting right here in the studio in front of me. And I'll tell you what, when you start taking this, not only is it going to give you a ton of antioxidants to help fight the free radicals that are being produced by everyday stress, your body metabolizing, but environmental onslaught as well, you're going to feel really good in most cases. And I tell you what, I don't know, I probably couldn't live without this stuff. It's so good. Then I have a good diet. I stay away from what I call the 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. I know that's your whole diet. One of my colleagues here at the station stopped me the other day. He says, Dr. Joe, love your book. My new book is out. But if you don't have a copy of my book, folks, go to my website and get it. It's called Prescription for Extreme Health. And get my first book, too, Eating Right for the Health of It. It kind of flows in, one flows into the next. And he said, I love your book, but everything you say not to eat is what I eat. And I said, I know. We got to keep you around for a while because you're a national treasure. And I said, you've got this young wife. And he says, well, here's my thing. He says, if I die soon, my wife can get another husband, get a good 40 years out of him. And I thought, that's an interesting way to plan your life. But the books are great. But I want you to stop putting the bad foods in your body because you have control over that. Then load your body up with antioxidants and good foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, super greens, an essential source. And that's step one. Then structurally, of course, as a chiropractor, I always want to check your spine and your nervous system to see if there's problems. We had a caller call in, and she didn't make it on the air, but she said, what do you do about knee pain? Knee pain is probably due to bones in the knees and or the low back out of place, pinching nerves. So put the low back in place, put the knees back in place, and then we'll talk, if we have time today, if not next time we get together, or soon, we'll talk about what to do when you're in an office, what you have to do when you're sitting, what you do when you're on a computer. And so with any type of pain, chances are it's a pinched nerve or an organ malfunctioning. The nerves control the organs. So when you have pain, don't ignore it. Get it checked out and find out what the cause is. Most times when it comes to spinal pain, it's a bone pinching a nerve. Not always, but most times. And that's something that chiropractors are really good about fixing. And then do the super greens, do the essential source, read my books. Take control of your own health. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, folks. We got a technological advanced society that's bombarding our body with things that are good and bad, where our food supply has changed dramatically since the 1980s. We're looking at steroids, hormones, chemicals, pesticides. You have to take control. And doctors, by the way, are not liking what they're doing. You know, study after study I read, and just talking to doctors personally, they all go, I want to get out of this. I don't want to do this anymore. What's my exit plan? What's my exit strategy? Do I have enough money to retire? It's not a fun thing to be in the healthcare field like it used to be. It used to be we used to take care of patients. Now, paperwork and insurance forms and credentialing and dealing with the insurance company saying, well, you know, Jordan wasn't hurt, so we're not going to pay the bill. No, Jordan was hurt. We have documentation. We have x-rays. We have MRI. We have CAT scan. We have clear orthopedic and neurological findings, and we have Jordan saying he's hurt. Nah, I don't think we're going to pay for it. And what are you going to do? So then you are stuck with this bill sometimes. So that's why you have to take control of your health. Do the most effective, cost-effective things you can do. And that's why I say you have to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. So, with that being said, we have Jordan on the phone. Jordan, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe.
Hi there.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to say I'm a huge fan of the Essential Source and Super Greens. I take both those daily. So.
Oh, you're loving it, huh? Isn't that stuff great?
Stuff.
Yeah.
So I had a question for you. I have some tightness in my, I guess, extremely lower back or upper glute area that anytime I bend backwards or try to bend forwards, it pulls down both hamstrings pretty equally. And then there's always that, you know, kind of that annoying pain in my lower back and upper butt.
Sure.
Is that you know, ring any bells? Is there anything I can do for that?
Absolutely. It sounds like a pinched nerve in your low back. I have that issue too. I fractured my back when I was a kid playing football and hockey, and I was a bit of a thug when I was a kid in street fights. And every now and then I'll do something, and boy, when that bone moves out of place and pinches that nerve, I'll have the exact same symptoms you're having. I'll grab one of my doctors. Okay. I'll say, hey, doc, fix me. They'll adjust me. And sometimes it's one adjustment. Sometimes, and I've been under chiropractic care since I was 18, it takes a while to stabilize it. But the problem, Jordan, is that same nerve controls your colon, sex organs, and bladder. So now you might see gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, urinary problems, sexual problems, all coming from those low back nerves. So it's pretty important you fix that.
Okay, absolutely. And is that something you can do at your office in Marietta?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have offices near you, too, in Stockbridge now, so it'll be a little easier for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Great. And I have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
If you have a minute.
Sure, go ahead.
I recently started working night shifts at work, probably the last 2 months or so. Should I change my my meal schedule to meet that? Like, should I eat in the middle of the night, or should I stick to the traditional meal schedule?
No. You're going to sleep during the day. That's your 8 hours. So you just shift your lifestyle to that. You know, you're working at night. You're sleeping 8 hours during the day. Your meal schedule should fit your lifestyle. So breakfast is when you wake up. Middle of the night is lunch. End of the day is dinner.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, Joe. And keep taking that Super Greens and Essential Source. That stuff is great.
Thanks, Dr. Joe.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, you can order Super Greens, Essential Source, send me questions. We have my books there. We have other supplements, lots of articles, archived radio shows, videos of lectures that I do, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, because we're the number one Dr. Joe in the world, thanks to you. You guys have made us the number one Dr. Joe in the world. So give us a call. Let's see if we can get you on the air, 844-44-Dr. Joe. And I got to go to break, so do me a favor. Tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to... Hey, folks, glad you could be here. Ooh, that's a crack of the voice there. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. We're talking today, or answering the question today, is technology killing us? And the answer is, in some cases, yes. And we talk a lot about cell phones and how cell phones can be dangerous, but I need to tell you what to do about that, because I don't want you to stop using your cell phone. I want you to be smart about using your cell phone. So a couple of things you can do to be safe, and I do this all the time, and I recommend you do too. Number one, absolute minimum, I want you to get a headset, not a wireless headset, a wired headset, the kind you plug into the phone, because that's going to reduce the electromagnetic frequency into your brain dramatically, especially for children. You have to realize that children's brains are not little adults. They're very different. There are more cell phones used in the United States than there are people. So we got a problem here. Obviously, some people have more than one cell phone. U.S. government agency included the FCC, which decides how much radiation mobile phones are allowed to emit, say there's little to be concerned about. Okay, there you go. FCC says it must be true. Not necessarily, because there have been things in the past that have been approved by government agencies that later on we turn out weren't safe. Drugs, foods, utensils. But you got to start thinking, how can I protect myself in case there is an issue? And the answer is yes. If you've listened to a little earlier, we had callers calling in. One fella had 2 tumors in his brain right where the antennas were. We had a doctor call in saying how important it is that you are aware of your environment. And so you really got to start taking the precautions just in case. And if I'm wrong, as I always say, so what? I'm wrong. But if I'm right, which I am, you'll realize it. In fact, there's a fun little test I do sometimes in my lectures. I'll have somebody come up and we'll talk about, the 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, and how you need to try to cut those out of your diet. And we talk about eating good foods. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source is the minimum amount of supplements you should be taking, and those are on my website, drjoeesposito.com. And there's a test called applied kinesiology. Applied kinesiology is pretty cool. It's called muscle testing. And one of the things I'll do is I'll have somebody come up from the audience. Usually if I catch somebody in my lecture playing with their phone, it's not often. Usually people pay attention. But if not, I'll just grab somebody up from the audience, and I'll just push on one of their muscles, and they'll be strong. Then I'll take their cell phone and just have them hold it in their hand or hold it against their chest, and I'll push on their arm again, and every muscle in their body goes weak. So just by holding the cell phone, you short-circuit your nervous system. Now, as a chiropractor, my concern is take care of your nervous system. Make sure the messages are flowing down the spine, out the nerves, and back up. Physically, a bone can move out of place and pinch a nerve, but cell phones and electromagnetic radiation can actually affect the nervous system as well. And then, of course, there's the chemistry and the nutrition, the digestion. If you're having acid reflux or heartburn, burping gas, chronic cough, chronic sinuses, it could be your stomach pushed up against your diaphragm, getting acid up into your sinuses or into your throat, and we need to pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm so you can start digesting your food properly. So there's a couple of things I feel that need to be part of every healthcare program, no matter what your condition is, no matter what doctor is treating you, whether it's an oncologist or a psychiatrist, an orthopedist, a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, physical therapy. You need to add these things to your treatment plan. And that's what we do in our offices. We work very closely with a lot of other healthcare practitioners to offer a complete healthcare protocol. And that's why we get a lot of referrals from healthcare practitioners, because they say, Doc, we're a little limited on what we can do. Let's add your protocol to our treatment, and then let's see what kind of results we get. And in most cases, it's tremendous. But at least, absolute minimum, I want you to get a corded headset for your phone. You can also use your speaker and talk on a speakerphone. That's okay too. Because if you read that little pamphlet that came with your phone, no one ever did. Ever. I don't think anyone ever has. Read the pamphlet, and in there it says, I know certainly in one of the Samsung manuals that I read, it said hold the phone at least a half inch away from your head. The studies that they did were done holding the phone at least a half inch away from your head, or 0.6 inches. So even in the manual, it says don't put the phone next to your ear. Hold it away from your ear. Minimum. I want to do more than the minimum. I don't want to be average. I want to be above average. And with kids, it really is more of an issue. Recently, 190 independent scientists representing 39 countries, including the United States, appealed to a global health organization to strengthen cell phone guidelines and ensure the public to be fully informed about the potential health risks from electromagnetic frequency. Scientists collectively have authored over 2,000 papers on the topic, and so that just adds to a growing number of experts, myself being one of them, saying that we need to be careful, especially with kids. Cell phone manufacturers said that mobile phones are tested with independent labs and ensure they meet the FCC's mandatory radiation. I get that. I'm not saying the cell phone companies are doing anything wrong. I'm not saying the FCC, with the information that they have, is trying to dupe you. I'm saying that more information is coming out and we need to change the guidelines. Because the guidelines, from last I could see, were last updated in 1996. A little bit has changed since then. And so I think we really need to do it. Now, again, children are not little adults. The amount of radio frequency that children will be exposed to by the time they're our age, by the time they're adults, is exponential to the amount of radio frequencies that we have been exposed to in our lifetime. We didn't have Wi-Fi 20 years ago. We do now. So if you have a kid, folks, or you, keep the phone away from your ear. Use a wired headset. Folks, got to go to break. Got a lot more to talk about. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. If you have questions, you want to make an appointment. My website, if you want to get supplements, send me questions, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. And also like me on Facebook, folks. That's another fun thing to do. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, glad you could be here. We're talking today about technology, and is it really causing health problems? And the answer is a resounding yes. Cell phones, computer screens, going to talk about that a little bit in a second. I do want to talk about this. We talked about children a little earlier. If you let your child play with your cell phone, how many people allow that? Raise your hands. A lot of you. What I want you to do is this, and I know this can be tricky. I want you to put it on airplane mode, because then it's not constantly sending and receiving messages. And the smaller the child, the thinner their skull, the more susceptible they are to things like electromagnetic frequency. Because, again, it may not be the radiation that's coming from an X-ray, but it can heat up your body. And when you heat the cells up, that can cause some serious problems. I know the other day I was talking on my phone, and I held it away from my ear, but I didn't have my headpiece with me, that I always have constantly, except for this time. And it was a long call. And that night, I went out to dinner with one of my buddies, and he looked at me and he said, "You been drinking?" And I said, "I haven't had a drink in 30 years. What are you talking about?" He says, "Your ear's all red." So hours later, my ear was still red. So just be careful with that. But a little thing you can do is just put it on airplane mode. Even if you're going to watch a movie, if you're going to play a game, if you can live with shutting your phone off for a few minutes, that would be the thing to do. I'm going to take some callers now. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call. The number here at the studio is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. And that line rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. If you have questions, if you want to make an appointment or order supplements or something like that. Jarvis, how can we make your day better?
Yes. I'm on dialysis about a year, and I'm having nail problems.
Okay. And you want to know why? I'll tell you why. Couple of things. The kidneys, if the kidneys are failing, obviously that's why you're on dialysis. The kidneys are closely linked to the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. They're connected, actually. And the adrenal glands, along with your testicles, produce testosterone. And without proper amounts of testosterone, that can affect your male function, of course. So I'm going to tell you why, and then I'm going to tell you what I would recommend to do about it. Second thing is, in many cases, I see people on dialysis, their diet has not been stellar for a long time. And we've put a lot of strain on the kidneys, especially by eating things like animal proteins. Because too much protein has to be broken down in your kidneys and your liver. So I would strongly advise you stay away from all animal proteins at this point. Meat, dairy, butter, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, anything that comes from an animal. Let's give the kidneys a rest.
Okay.
You probably also have pinched nerves in the low back, because the nerves in the low back...
You're right.
I'm right. There you go.
Damn.
I'm psychic, Jarvis.
Sometimes when I've been over, I get a little pinch in the back. I'm like, damn, what did I do?
That's what it is. Okay? So a pinched nerve in the low back can control the kidneys, the adrenal glands, but they can also control the colon, sex organs, and bladder. So you might see gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, urinary problems, sexual problems. So it sounds like I know you pretty well, huh? Had a bad diet, a lot of animal protein. There you go. See that?
I think you fixed me.
All right, Jarvis, here's what I think you should do. Number one, no animal products at all until these kidneys are back normal again, okay? And even then, you probably want to stay away from them. Number two, you want to get those pinched nerves fixed. Check the nerves in the low back, see if there's any pinching. Obviously, there is. You told me it hurts. Either come see us or somebody else and get it fixed. Get those bones put back in place. And then the third thing is you want to give your body a lot of nutrients for the organs to heal. And so, of course, I would start with Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, minimum.
Okay.
At least a scoop of each once a day. With you, I'd probably recommend twice a day for a couple of months until we get the kidneys back up running again, if we can. And then water. Make sure you get water in there to flush the kidneys through. And then hopefully if you open up the nerve supply, get the adrenals working properly, I may even recommend, if I dug a little deeper, some supplements for the adrenal glands to get those working again. And then hopefully you get back on track again. We've had a lot of patients with kidney issues. And, years ago I didn't see it. I'm seeing it like crazy these past couple of years. So there's obviously a correlation. So there's your answers.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you, Dr. Joe. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your call. Thanks so much. You see, folks, it's always funny. People like Jarvis, I love callers like him. They always think, gosh, you're psychic. Well, no, I just know how the body works. And, if you go to a mechanic, you expect them to fix your car. And the more you know about the car, the easier it is to fix. And that's how I feel about the body. When you understand it, you have to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. You now have a plan. And I can take an x-ray, metaphorically look under the hood, see what's going on, and say, okay, I can see these bones are out of place. I did an exam. I find these muscles are spasms. These bones are pinching into the nerves. Let's put together a protocol of chiropractic care. Get your digestive system working. Get your diet straightened out. Give up the bad foods. Get on the good foods. Get the super greens and the essential source in your diet. And take action steps. Because so many people, I know a lot of you all around the world are listening right now, and you're saying, I have these problems and I'm doing nothing about it. Well, do something about it. You have control over your diet. Absolutely. Nobody's forcing you to eat bad foods. So eat more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Stay away from the alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweeteners. Get to a chiropractor if you have the pinched nerves, and chances are you do. Take the super greens and the essential source. They're available. Oh, by the way, they're available on Amazon as well. My staff always yells at me when I don't mention that on the air. You can get Dr. Joe's Super Greens Essential Source, my books, a lot of products we have on Amazon as well. If you have an Amazon account, it might be easier for you there. But we want to put together a plan specifically for you. We want to help you get well. So let's talk a little bit more about cell phones. If you have a healthcare question, by the way, 844-44-DR-Joe. And then after the next break, I'm going to talk about computer screens and what those are doing to you, too. 844-44-DR-Joe. 2012 report, U.S. Government Accountability Office also recommends the FCC standards be reassessed to account for current usage. So we're using cell phones a lot more than we were before. By testing mobile phones only at a distance from the body, the FCC may not identify the maximum exposure since some users may hold a cell phone directly against their body. I have to laugh at that statement. Some cell phone users might hold a cell phone next to their body. Everyone holds a cell phone next to their body. You may have it in your pocket. Ladies, I see you do this. Please, I'm begging you, don't do it. Put it in your bra. Stop doing that. You're putting electromagnetic frequencies against your lymphatic glands, which filter out germs and viruses and bacteria, and you're putting against that ever so sensitive breast tissue. So please don't do that. Ladies, you've got the advantage. If you have a purse, put it in the purse. Gentlemen, if you have it in your pocket, as soon as you get in your car, take it out. As soon as you get to work or home, take it out. Don't let that sit in your body, next to your body for any length of time. It's going to cause problems. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it looks like it's going to be in the long haul. Phones are transmitting radiation as long as they're connected to the internet or connected to Wi-Fi. So even if you're not talking on the phone, your phone is talking to the towers. So as a chiropractor, I'm very concerned about your nervous system from a chemical, from a structural, and from a physical standpoint. We want to make sure that we're handling every aspect of that we can. So get wired. Countries like Israel, France, Russia, Canada provide additional cell phone safety recommendations for children and adults. The most consistent advice, use a wired earpiece or talk on a speakerphone. So that's the advice other countries are telling everyone. And at least don't put the cell phone next to your ear. Now, we've got other issues like sitting at a computer screen all day, every day. How many people do that? Raise your hands. I know a lot of you do. Oh, when we come back, next time we get together, when we come back, we're going to talk about computer use and how that's adversely affecting your health from a structural standpoint because you're sitting so much, and that's going to pinch nerves in the back, cause your head to drop forward, and what you need to do if you're staring at a screen all day, every day. I'm going to tell you the 20-20-20 rule. It's really a good rule I want you to follow. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. And my website, drjoeesposito.com. We'll be right back. Esposito.com. Hey, folks, glad you could be here. We're talking today about technology, and is technology killing us? And we talked a little bit about cell phones, and we talked a lot about cell phones, especially with kids. I do want to talk about computer use, because so many of us use computers all day, every day, and I just got a message on Facebook. So like me on Facebook, folks, and send me messages while I'm on the air or when I'm not on the air, questions. And they said, what about computer use? And so health experts like myself have known for a while now that staring at a device can strain your eyes. But when it comes to long-term damage, evidence has been a little blurry until now. We have proof. A new report from a scientist at the University of Madrid, it's Complutense, I guess it's pronounced, in Madrid, warns it's now clearer than ever that we're fighting a global epidemic of sight loss. And researchers in the study were especially worried about children because they're exposed to screens much earlier than, of course, we ever were. We didn't have screens back then. Study found lab rats were exposed to LED screens without protective filter for 16 hours a day. They experienced 23% higher rate of retina cell death after only 3 months. Now, again, that's a lot, 16 hours a day. Most of us aren't staring at a screen 16 hours a day, but we might be. Because you're at work or you're at home, and then you've got a television. Again, not quite the same intensity because you're not as close to the TV. And you have your cell phones, and that can become a problem. So the damage can lead to loss of vision. So here's the rule. There's a rule called the 20-20-20 rule, and I want you to consider this. For every 20 minutes you stare at your screen, turn your gaze 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So the way the eye works is your muscles in your eyes move the eye around, and you can move from near distance to far distance, and you can see that way. And if you're just using one of the focuses, you're not using the other ones, and they can get weak. So just like other muscles, you have to exercise them. So what I want you to do if you work at a computer, especially at home or in the office, I want you to set your timer for every 20 minutes. And every 20 minutes, have your timer go off, and I want you to stare far away, 20 feet or more away, for 20 seconds. Not stare, but look away for 20 seconds. And what that's going to do is help exercise those eye muscles. So for every 20 minutes you stare at the screen, turn your gaze away for 20 feet away, and do that for 20 seconds, because that's going to help tremendously. Another little thing we do with our patients, and I want you to consider this too, is you got to get up from your screen and walk around. And so many times people get there in the morning, they turn on their computers, they work through, sometimes through lunch, never getting up. So a simple way to solve this, you're going to solve two problems at once, because I like efficiency, is I want you to drink more water. Most of us don't drink enough water. And when you drink water, you have to pee. So if you're drinking lots of water, about every hour or so, you're going to have to get up and go pee. And that's wonderful because, A, we're getting fluid into your system. We're flushing out the kidneys, putting water into the colon. The colon works more efficiently when it's well lubricated. Same thing with the joints in the body. And as a chiropractor, I'm worried about the joints in your body. And then you got to get up and pee. And if you get my new book, if you don't have my new book, you need to get it. It's called Prescription for Extreme Health. I have chapters in there about working in an office and what you need to do to get up, move around. And I also recommend you do what's called a cross crawl. And what that means is the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. And most of us, when we're sitting at a computer or doing anything, are using just one side of our body, thus one side of our brain. And I need to have you integrate both sides of your brain and not segregate one side from the other. And a simple little thing you can do, and I do this all the time, is march. Well, you can march in place, but when you're walking, swing your right arm with your left leg and then your left arm with your right leg. And it's amazing. When I do live lectures, oh, by the way, come out to my live lectures, folks. Live lectures are a blast. They are so much fun. I gave a lecture the other day to a business group, and several people, radio show listeners, and they take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And one guy came up to me right afterwards and said, I didn't realize you were speaking tonight. And I called babysitters. I changed everything. I had to come hear you speak. And boy, the live lectures are great. They're even better than the radio show. Could it be? Something better than the radio show? It's possible. That's what I'm hearing. But come out to the live lectures. They're on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Most of them are free. Sometimes if it's a big sometimes a big organization, they'll charge or something. And a lot of companies hire me to come in and do lectures, corporate lectures, because they realize that if they can get their employees motivated and healthy, they're going to get a lot more bang for their buck when it comes to these employees. So there's no downside to getting a whole corporate office healthy. So anyway, back to my coming out to the live lectures. But I'll have everyone in the lectures room stand up, and I'll have them march in place, right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. And about 5 or 10% of the people can't do that. It said that they're switched. They're moving their right arm and right leg, and then left arm and left leg. You have to move right arm, left arm, right leg. And if you can do that while you're walking to the bathroom, because you're drinking a lot of water and getting away from your computer screen, you're going to actually reboot your brain. And getting the brain rebooted is going to help your day, but it's also going to help your night. Because so many people at the end of the day are just exhausted. I can't move. I can't function. I'm exhausted. I don't know what to do. Well, what we want to do then is see if we can change that by giving you things throughout the day so you don't short-circuit your brain. Now, also sitting at a computer all day, we'll get back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Your head is dropped forward. Your shoulders are drooping. Nobody sits correctly at their computer. I don't. One of my doctors, Dr. Katz, she sits very well. She has very good posture. But all my other doctors don't either. And so you got to get the body moving. And if the bones move out of place, you're building strong muscles around crooked bones. You want to build up strong muscles around straight bones. And so that's why if you have neck pain or back pain or shoulder pain, you're sitting at a computer all day, I strongly advise that you get your spine checked. We can do it at our office. Again, this show I know is heard around the world, so if you're not near us, find a doctor near you who's qualified and get the spine checked. Because when you get the nervous system working and the digestive system working and good nutrition, now you have a healthcare plan that really, really works. We call it Joe-Obamacare. Folks, got to go to a break. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com. You can order Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. My products are available on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, it might be easier for you. And I really at least do the Super Greens and Essential Source for a month and see what happens. And make sure you do it. I think you'll be amazed. Hey, got to go to break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Break. Don't go anywhere. Hey, folks, glad you're here. Hope we're having a fine day. Hope you're learning a few things listening to the show, as I assume you are. And I just got a message on Facebook. You can send me messages through Facebook, too. Just like me on Facebook. It's Facebook.com/Dr. Joe Esposito. And they want to know about standing desks. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And here's the answer, yes and no. I like the fact that if you're standing, your body has to continually contract muscles to keep you standing straight, and that's activity. And the body needs more activity. Sitting down doesn't do that. The problem is this, just like any other activity, if you have bones out of place pinching nerves, you could be building up strong muscles around crooked bones. In my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, I have a special chapter just for athletes. And the thing I stress the most is I don't want you building up strong muscles around crooked bones. I want you building up strong muscles around straight bones. So if you have a standing desk, or if you sit a lot, or if you drive a lot, I used to be a truck driver. I totally get it. I used to load trucks. I used to drive my truck. If you're having pain, pain is a warning sign. It's telling you that something's wrong. So you need to do something about that. You need to take the bones that are out of place and put them back in place. That's what me and my team of doctors have been doing. Well, I've been doing now for 32 years. And chiropractic has been doing it since September 18th, 1895. So get the bones back in place, and then you'll build up strong muscles around straight bones. And everyone who comes into my office, when I tell them about working out, I stress that to them, if they're athletes especially, that you've got to get the spine straight. Because if it's not, you could be doing more damage. And then if the bones are out of place, they're rubbing up against each other, and they could be wearing out. And that's called osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is mechanical. Rheumatoid arthritis is the body attacking itself. It's chemical. So with rheumatoid arthritis patients, we try to get their diet straightened out and put the bones back in place. With osteoarthritis patients, we try to put the bones back in place and get their diet straightened out. Same thing. I mean, because we want to get the structure and the chemistry right. So if you have a standing desk, make sure you're doing it right. If you're hunched over, if you're even here in the studio, when I stand up, I have to make sure my microphone is up high enough so that I'm not leaning over. I remember a couple of months ago, the microphone stand was broken, and I had to hunch over to speak into the microphone. It's not a good thing. So that's why it's very important that you're maintaining proper posture when you're doing activities, and that goes for standing desks as well. So what we're talking about is technology killing you, and the answer is yes. I want to talk about how screens can turn your kids into psychotic junkies. Now, a lot of patients intuitively understand that these glowing screens are everywhere, and they have a negative effect on kids. And we can see kids, when you try to take their screens away, aggressive behaviors, temper tantrums. Also see the kids' attention start to wander. How many people have kids or around kids? Okay, hands raising over there. Okay, Johnny's raising his hand. Good. Ahmad, no, you're not. No, okay. Ahmad's like, no. Okay. How many times do your kids say, I'm bored? I mean, we might have said that in the summer, on summer break, but we were never bored. I don't remember ever saying I was bored. But kids need constant input. Hey, I do too. I'm no different. But because we live in this world of technology, we're in this hyper-arousing state all the time. And devices do that to us. And it's even worse than you think. So we now know that if the kid has, little computers, if they have smartphones, if they have game devices, it's a form of a digital drug. Recent brain studies are showing that the effects on what's called the brain's frontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that controls executive function, including impulse control, when kids throw their little fits, in exactly the same way. The screens affect the brain the same way that cocaine does. Technology is so hyper-arousing that it raises the dopamine levels. Now, dopamine is a chemical in your brain. It's the feel-good neurotransmitter most involved in the addiction dynamic. And so those things that give us a lot of pleasure, food, romance, now we have screens, gambling, drugs, we're stimulating the same part of the brain. So the kid's brain on a computer looks like a brain on drugs. So it's no wonder we have a hard time peeling these kids away from the screen and finding the little ones agitated when we take the screen time away from them. Hundreds of clinical studies show that screen increases depression, screen use, anxiety, and aggression, and can even lead to psychotic-like features where the video gamer loses touch with reality. So now we have the proof that if your kid or you are staring at a screen or playing a game all day, every day, it's stimulating, it's affecting the frontal cortex, and it's affecting the dopamine levels in the body. And once you've crossed over the line into true addiction, it's real hard to come back. 2013 policy statement by the American Academy of Pediatrics. 8 to 10-year-olds spend 8 hours a day on various media devices, while teenagers spend about 11 hours in front of screens. 1 in 3 kids are using tablets and smartphones before they can talk. I've seen that a lot in my practice. Meanwhile, the Handbook of the Internet Addiction, it's by Dr. Kimberly Young, states that 18% of college-age Internet users in the U.S. suffer from tech addiction. So it really becomes an addiction now. It's not that we're taking it away from the kids and they're just being fussy. They're addicts. You're an addict. When you can't put your phone down, it's an issue. And once you cross into full-blown addiction, drugs, digital or otherwise, they need to detox. And the way you detox, sometimes you have to slowly take them off. Sometimes you got to go cold turkey. It depends on the person. Prescribed amount of time is about 4 to 6 weeks. That's the amount of time that it usually takes for hyper-aroused nervous system to reset itself. So there's no easy task that you have in front of you in our current tech-filled society where screens are ubiquitous. Everybody's got a screen everywhere. Right now, where I'm standing in the studio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can see 5 screens. 6, 7, 8, 10. I'm looking outside now, 11. That's how many screens I can see just standing where I am right now. So yeah, they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere, and they're affecting our lives. So the key is to try to get your kids outside doing more things. And then sometimes we as parents may have something called distracted parent syndrome. Here, play with this. Stay quiet for a second. So you're distracted, so the kids are getting more and more addicted. So get the kids outside, but most importantly, get yourself outside. Do activities. Go gardening. Go for a hike. Find some trails. There are websites everywhere. Just type in trails in my area, hiking trails. You'll find hundreds of trails in your area. Get out and do some physical activity. And you'll be fascinated what happens to your body and your brain and the kid's body and their brain. And as a chiropractor, that's my concern. I want to make sure you're as healthy as possible, that the brain is able to get messages from the brain down the spine, out to the nerves, and back up. Chemically, we can do that. Food, drugs, alcohol. Digestion, we have to make sure our digestive system is working. And then, of course, there's the structural issues. And just staring down at a screen all day, every day can affect your neck and your back. So, folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Going to have to run. The number 844-44-Dr. Joe rings through to my office if I'm not on the air. My website, if you want to listen to radio shows, like me on Facebook. Got to go to Facebook for that. Send me questions on my website, order products, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Hey, thanks.